Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked on Bama. Sorry, had a little bit of a problem there. But yeah, I'm here at the Delta Sky Club. And this episode today is brought to you by FanDuel. No, it's brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. So, 5 Hour Energy, I'll tell you about 5 Hour Energy in just a little bit. But got a lot to talk about, and I'm going to fly solo today.
You are Locked on Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, welcome back into Locked on Bama, and sorry for the, wow, that was a pretty rough start for me, but that's okay. We'll deal with that. Want to thank everybody for joining us. Got a lot to talk about. Jimmy is not available, and my voice is barely available. So y'all just hang with me for a second as I'm going to try and struggle through this. I want to thank you everydayers for joining us all the time. I'm here in the Delta Sky Club in Wisconsin right now. And I got to say a few things just to get started that, boy, really, really loved the Wisconsin fans. I thought the hospitality was incredible as these aren't working, so I'm going to take them out. And really had a blast with everybody here. Got to meet some people who were fans of the show. Really appreciate them. Alan, who met him at the hotel. Garrett, who came to me just out of nowhere in the line for one of these Scotties, maybe, whatever. And I mean, no fewer than 15 other people that came up and recognized me, and I truly, truly appreciate it. You guys are the best. But the Wisconsin fan all over were fantastic. I thought it was an absolute blast. Would really do this again. You know, I don't want to make Wisconsin something we do all the time, but I think that coming up for a location like this is a lot of fun. And I thought it was great, especially since Alabama was able to get the blowout win. So a lot of fun with that. On the game side, obviously, you know, Jalen Milroe having just a historic season. And while there are still people that are doubting him, and there are, is breathtaking to me because he is playing out of his mind right now in a way. No, he's not putting up 400 yards a game passing, but he's accounting for 5 touchdowns a game essentially. So he's playing out of his mind and truly loving it. Ryan Williams was the talk of Wisconsin. I mean that with all sincerity. Everybody that was around me, and we sat in a Wisconsin section under the upper deck, which made for shade and was awesome. And the whole talk was about Ryan Williams, about this kid's only 17, he's the youngest player in college football. They couldn't believe it. And he had a very nice game, but the best is yet to come there. I think we all know that. He's got a long way to go. But my goodness, he's probably the biggest weapon on Alabama right now outside of Milroe. I don't think there's any question about it. He looked fantastic. Then the defense really came around. There are some things to complain about, and we will get to those probably in the second segment. But obviously, I think there's a lot to be happy about too. James Burnham, that's another guy that I thought had a great game. The punts were sky high and deep, and he did a fantastic job with it. The defense pressure, you know, obviously getting to the quarterback a lot more overall. There were some lapses in that, but I thought that the defense played a lot better. Now, again, I'm going to try and save some of this for the second segment, but there are some times when a more accurate quarterback would have been able to complete a touchdown pass on us a couple of times. And also giving up the 8-minute drive. I think we certainly have to talk about that. But, you know, you look around the country and you say, okay, Texas looks really strong, right? Even with Arch Manning, the backup quarterback in there. But Georgia had their struggles. They certainly didn't look invincible. Missouri certainly had their struggles. Ole Miss looked fine, but they've played nobody yet. Ohio State obviously didn't play. And, I mean, I just look around. I don't see anybody. Maybe Tennessee looks as good as anybody in the country. And obviously we play them on the road later on. But who knows what's going to happen when they have to face a team with a little bit more of a pulse, at which they may do at Oklahoma this weekend. So we'll see. But back to the game. One thing that some folks have brought up um, is the injury to Tyler Van Dyke. And if he hadn't gotten hurt, would this be any different? First of all, does he play defense? I don't think he does. So they still would have given up plenty of points. And I don't think he was accounting for any more than potentially one touchdown. Would he have hit one of the deep balls that probably should have been caught for a touchdown? Maybe, perhaps. But I don't necessarily think that Tyler Van Dyke's absence contributed to the margin of victory or anything like that. So I think that Alabama was just a much better team. Their fans knew it. I mean, the fans sitting around me said, y'all are faster and bigger and stronger than us. What do you want us to do? And again, super nice people. Can't say enough good things about the Wisconsin folks. Deontay Lawson and LT Overton. Those two played, to me, like All-Americans. I haven't been able to rewatch this yet. I've only been able to see highlights because obviously I was at the game, and then you experience all Madison has to offer. But I'm looking forward to seeing essentially that one play by Deontay Lawson where they go for it on 4th and 1, and he meets the man in the hole. That was fantastic. The one thing I do, by the way, like about Wisconsin, they have these big screens on the sides under the deck. So, yeah, I mean, it was very easy to see all the replays. And so, yeah, that was just a fabulous play by him. And LT Overton was everywhere. He just is really coming into his own at a great time. And I don't know if you saw the Georgia game last night, but Tate Radledge, who was a starter on the offensive line for the Bulldogs, he was in a knee brace and in a walking boot. So, who knows if he's going to be available. Of course, we don't know about Quay Rousseau yet. We don't know about some of Alabama's own injuries. So that could be a thing as well, and something to talk about for sure a little bit later on in the week when we hear a little bit more about this from Kalen DeBoer. He did come out and say, these are lower leg injuries, implying that is, below the knee, so not an ACL type thing, which certainly is very, very positive. Look, my voice is about to go, so this one may be a quick one, but I'm going to go ahead and take a break now. And when we come back, I want to talk about some of the things that were mildly concerning yesterday. Right now, though, I want to tell you about 5-Hour Energy. 5-Hour Energy is something I used yesterday. Had to. 11 o'clock game, been out all night the previous night. Planned on being out for a while last night and was. And I had to have some 5-Hour Energy to get through the evening. And the Wisconsin people, they hang in there, y'all. So take 5-Hour Energy, maybe take a few of them. So 5-Hour Energy also helps fix tired fast, whether you have a long list to do for work or a list of DIY projects to tackle at home. Take a 5-Hour Energy shot. You can check everything off your list. If you're like me, you always have a large list of projects for the home. When you get your supplies for the project, do not forget the most essential supply, which is 5-Hour Energy. These shots are absolutely delicious. You can get them in watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and a lot more flavors than that. On the site, you can also build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. 5-Hour Energy is the brand hardworking people have trusted for over 20 years. Look, so go to 5hourenergy.com. That's the number 5hourenergy.com and get some 5-Hour Energy product today. You can use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. Go to 5-Hour Energy today. Again, I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in. I know this is very impromptu, but we didn't do one after the game yesterday because I was at the game and felt like I wanted to do something before I actually got on the plane and still had some of this Wisconsin on me. One other thing before I go too far, I can't wait to talk to Jimmy about this because he'll be super excited. Patrick Murphy was at the game. I know a lot of you probably knew Nate Oates was on the game on the field, and that was cool to see. But Patrick Murphy, the softball coach, was at the game, and he stayed at our hotel. And me and my buddy sat down with him and talked for, an hour and a half. And he could not have been any nicer. And he was very open and had some things to say that I cannot repeat, but just some unbelievable stuff. And just very open and candid, super guy. Going to have him on the podcast. He was very fired up, but it was kind of funny. Somebody came up and recognized me from this. And then meanwhile, my friend said, well, you know, that's the softball coach right there. He's won a national championship. He's like, oh, he's nice to meet you. So it was a little bit of a funny moment, but super nice guy. And can't wait to have him on the pod. Big Bama football fan. He came on his own dime, sat in the upper deck. We had better seats than Patrick Murphy. That's kind of weird. Wanted to talk about a couple of the concerning things, not because I'm being negative, just because they're out there. First of all, that 8-minute drive Wisconsin had right after. So Bama gets the ball first in the second half. They go right down, score a touchdown. Things looking like, okay, we can put this thing away. And Wisconsin milked 8 minutes and I think 14 seconds off the clock. And it just seemed like that drive was never going to stop. And I remember just being in the stands going, we got to do something different. I mean, and I don't know what the answer is. I can't wait to get Jimmy on to have him discuss this a little more. He will have more insight into that. But of course, you know, the people around me that were Bama fans were very upset with Kane Womack at the time. And again, it was a blowout. Alabama wins big, all those things. But that was mildly concerning, that issue with this long touchdown drive right after you had taken all the momentum. That is something that we need to get handled. So, and I do see some people with some comments, by the way, if you're listening on audio, I am doing this live. And so there are folks that are chiming in that some people are like Industry Plant TV saying, why are we not playing our best players all the time? Look, I don't know the answer to that. And I'm not sure what you're referring to. And I'm going to go back and rewatch and see who got to play more than others. I'll tell you this, I thought Wilkin Formby played better. I didn't obviously watch him the whole time, but I thought Wilkin Formby played a lot better. So that is a positive. We predicted this, by the way. We said that the quicker defensive lineman for South Florida would probably give him more of a fit than the Wisconsin lineman. And I think that's exactly what happened. So that is a positive. The other thing that was a negative to me, and this is more concerning than that 8-minute drive. I can sort of chalk the 8-minute drive up to, we thought we had it and we just, you know, they sort of minutiaed their way down the field. I know that's not a word. But the passes, the deep passes that Wisconsin missed were kind of eerily similar, and they weren't terribly deep, but they were deep enough, were eerily similar to those that South Florida missed. And what I'm worried about is you got Carson Beck coming in here in 2 weeks, and he's not going to miss those guys. Now, Georgia's receivers aren't grade A receivers necessarily. They're very good. I mean, they're Georgia players, so they're awesome. But they're not, they don't have A.J. Green. So, but they don't need it if they're going to be wide open. There was one particular play, I believe it was Zabian Brown and Malachi Moore that were burned, and it should have been a touchdown. It was just slightly overthrown. And that was a bit disturbing. And that's the second week in a row that we've seen some deep balls that should have been touchdowns for the other team not be completed. And that's something that's got to get corrected. It's got to get corrected fast. And I don't know if the answer is more pressure or if it is play some other type of defense in the secondary. I'm not sure yet, but that's something that's got to change. Now, another thing that concerned me, as I have him on my fantasy college football team, is Justice Haynes only getting 2 carries. Didn't like that at all. I do like Richard Young being implemented into the offense a little more. I think he came out in the second half and started the first drive. Again, I've rewatched, but I remember seeing him very early in the second half. I thought, wow, that's interesting. I don't know what's going on with Justice Haynes or if he just wasn't a part of the game plan quite as much. Jam Miller obviously had a great game and scored another long touchdown, and I think that's fabulous. But I would like to see a little more out of Justice Haynes, and I'm going to call for it again and again and again until it happens. I want to see a screen pass. I think Jam Miller and Justice Haynes are built for great screen passes. Remember Mark Ingram 2009 SEC title game kind of thing. That's what I see happening. So I want to see more about that. Justin Okoronkwo, somebody Dexter Wright brought him up, I believe. No, he didn't. He brought in Overton. I thought he was trying to say Okoronkwo. But I would like to go back and see if he made any kind of a difference. I didn't notice him on the field live at the game, so I want to see about that. I know he was supposed to be out there. Overton was awesome. Tim Keenan was also awesome. That's a good point. Dexter Wright brought that up, and I think that's great. Jam Miller is playing very well. you go back to look. I think we need to reiterate this point about Jalen Milroe. It's the first time in 20 years any quarterback has thrown for 2 and run for 2 in 3 consecutive games. That's pretty amazing. And again, if you're not on the Milroe train, please get on it. I know Ty Simpson went in late and he threw a pretty ball several times. I thought he looked on target, but he ain't Jalen Milroe right now, and that's the leader of this ball club, and that's who everybody needs to get behind for sure. Okay, going to take one more break here and going to come back and talk about some other SEC stuff because I really want to save a lot of these points for Jimmy when he's able to join me. Want to tell everybody about FanDuel now. FanDuel's a lot of fun. Got one of the guys I was with plays FanDuel all the time, and he's having a blast with it. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, it's America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you now. Through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube or YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment. You can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sports book, and you will absolutely love it. It's a ton of fun. All right, going around the SEC and the country for a minute, you got to feel sorry for Vanderbilt, don't you? I mean, they sort of getting whooped by Georgia State on the road. While they're playing Georgia State on the road is a whole nother issue. But they're getting whooped by them, and then they come back, they get the lead, and Georgia State makes a great play towards the end of the game to win that one. You know, we knew it was coming, though. If Vandy upset somebody, they're going to get upset by somebody even lowlier than them later on in the season. That's just the way Vandy does it. And it's actually not bad because, I mean, not that the crowd was going to be nuts. It's going to be all Alabama after the Georgia game when Bama travels to Nashville, but it doesn't hurt that maybe their psyche will be a little damaged. Georgia, look, watching that game, if you're an Alabama fan, it gives you a lot more optimism, right? They're not going to play that way against us. They're just not. They're just not going to do it. And we need to get that out of our heads and realize that they're going to play a lot better. And they're going to do what they need to do. That's a winning ball club. They're going to do what they need to do to come into Tuscaloosa and try and bring them a win. And right now, I would consider Georgia to be a 4-point favorite in Tuscaloosa. That's my guess at the line at the moment. Carson Beck did show some signs of being human. And again, I think the national folks have pointed this out, and I agree with them, that they don't have necessarily as many true playmakers as they've had in the past. Alabama's certainly been through that a time or two, and they just don't have the same maybe same caliber running back, even though Etienne is very good, and he made a real nice play late that if he could have stayed in bounds would have been something. But, I look at somebody like Branson Robinson. I thought he was going to be fabulous to get out of Mississippi that Alabama recruited very hard. And it just hadn't panned out necessarily. That, they did get the win. Getting a win on the road in SEC is nothing to joke about, but you do feel like, okay, I feel better about this game. Auburn with Hank Brown, they still got a lot of problems. New Mexico is one of the worst defenses in the country, and yes, Hank Brown looked good. I thought he threw a pretty ball occasionally, but I don't know what's going on with them. It seems like they would be a little bit sharper than they are right now. And this Arkansas game is going to be very scary for them, if you ask me. I mean, that's a game. Arkansas has already played some really tough opponents, and they've hung in there and done well. And they've already been on the road and showed out for the most part, at least for 3.5 quarters against Oklahoma State. So I think they will be a tough game for them next weekend. Missouri, boy, I don't know what's going on there because Boston College isn't great, and they had to fight with everything they could to end up winning by 6. And of course, Missouri's going to be a tough game for Bama right after Tennessee. Tennessee looked awesome again. They had 65 points at the half or something. That's ridiculous. Never even heard of that before. I don't care how bad Kent State is. They are looking really, really sharp. That game with Oklahoma next week, I think Oklahoma's in for a rude awakening to this conference. Florida State, don't even know what to say anymore. They're awful. And I think I feel bad for the Alabama guys that transferred from Tuscaloosa to Tallahassee. That That's got to be rough for them. Then Florida just as bad. I'm assuming Billy Napier's out. I mean, by the time this gets posted, he may be out. Want to do a couple, and I know somebody pointed out Tennessee did an onside kick up 30-0 in the first quarter. I get it. That's classless. There's no doubt. But they still scored 65 points in the first half. That's pretty amazing. One other thing I wanted to point out, because there's a Ryan Williams podcast. I saw one of the comments here said Ryan Williams needs to touch the ball even more, and I couldn't agree more. Again, I have not seen the replay. We all thought he was gone on his punt return. We didn't know how he was going to do it because it looked like there's a lot of people, but we all thought he was gone, and that would have been pretty amazing. He was still a fantastic punt return. I don't know why he went back there, though. Can anybody explain that? Why he was back there versus Mbakwe? I thought he was just an interesting call at the time, but I'm glad to see him back there. Maybe it's just to give Georgia or anybody else something to think about. But all right, everybody, my voice is about gone. That's going to do it for this pod. We will be back tomorrow with Jimmy Stein. And until then, roll tide, everybody.